Left of the box. Let's get to know our politicians or potential politicians and the shenanigans that they are up to. And this is from Rachel Gilmore, a wonderful journalist here in Canada. This thread is wild. Allegation of corruption and even possible criminal activity surrounding the Conservative Party nomination. I really want to know which side the candidate Sabrina believes was behind this. So Sabrina, former columnist for the National Post. Oh, definitely conservative then. So conservative and right-wing. Let's see. So, announcement. I'm suspending my campaign to become the next federal conservative candidate for an MP for Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill. Sadly, I no longer have faith in the election's integrity, and here's why.
Today, I'm suspending my campaign to become the next federal conservative candidate and MP for Aurora Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill. Living up to my values, why I entered this race to begin with, and my record of standing up for what's right leaves me no other choice. It comes down to this. I no longer have faith in the integrity of this election. Despite raising concerns to the Conservative Party nearly 2 weeks ago, despite submitting clear evidence of a corrupted process and potential legal actions taken by another campaign, nothing has been done.
What? The Conservatives haven't investigated corruption? No. Of course not. It's such a corrupt party. All of them are corrupt, but Conservatives in particular are so corrupt. And the thing is that for leadership races in general, it doesn't matter the party. They're not a democracy when it comes to who the leader of a party is, or for who a candidate is. Because I know from personal experience with the NDP, the way that they vet people isn't done by the riding association. So the riding association doesn't always get a say as to who their candidate is going to be. So even though the riding association I was in would want me, the party wouldn't allow me because I'm outspoken and have a sense of humor. And then they just appointed someone. And there was many, many ridings where they wanted someone, but the office brass, whatever you want to call them, didn't approve of that candidate because they were too radical. And then they just appointed someone, sometimes parachuting them in. And when it comes to leadership races for these parties, they're very corrupt in different ways, as in, first of all, you have to have a lot of money in order to run for them. So that limits the pool of people who can run for it in the first place. But then they do things around investigating signatures and finding ways to disqualify candidates that they don't want in and all that sort of stuff, even though the base of the party might have preferred this other person. But they'll look for any way possible, even made up ways, to make it so that they are disqualified from running. This is all the political parties, not just conservatives, but conservatives are corrupt in their own unique way. That is just, everything is corrupt.
We asked again and again for action, but there's been no sign that a promised internal investigation is actually underway. No next step shared as we get closer and closer to a vote. Despite repeated requests, there's been zero communication to candidates or the riding's conservative voters to make them aware of interference with the democratic process. Zero communication that my campaign has been the clear target of highly unethical and potentially illegal efforts to sway the vote. There's been zero meaningful reassurances to me, other candidates, or voters that this will still be an open and fair election.
They aren't. They never are. The people within the party will have a preferred candidate a lot of the times, and they'll see to it that that preferred candidate is the one that wins. When it comes to selecting candidates, it is not a democratic process in this country. Doesn't matter the party.
My campaign hasn't been the only one to complain. Others have as well. But I'll leave it to those candidates to decide if and when they'd like to make their concerns public. When voters reach out to say they feel harassed or that they don't feel secure voting, and those concerns continue to go unaddressed, anyone who's truly committed to freedom and electoral integrity has no choice but to act. As a result, I can't in good conscience continue to be a part of this process. This isn't something I ever expected to say, and it's frankly heartbreaking after 110 days of campaigning and making so many sacrifices to be part of a conservative movement I believe in deeply, one that values freedom, the rule of law, and a strong democracy.
That kind of contradicts what you just say. But I guess that's why, because it's proven not to value a strong democracy. The Conservative Party never has. It never has. It never has. The freedom and all that sort of, they've never valued it. They want to strip away your rights, and we'll get more into that.
I never asked to be acclaimed, I never asked for preferential treatment, and I never thought this would be easy or that there wouldn't be bumps or attacks along the way. All I ever asked, and got assurances of, was that this would indeed be an open and fair nomination contest. This, right now, isn't that. I'd like to thank my dedicated team, as well as supporters, donors, and volunteers who believed in my mission and gave so much of themselves to it. I also couldn't in good conscience continue to ask you to contribute to a corrupted contest. The voters of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill deserve to democratically choose their next Conservative candidate and MP. They deserve to know when there's been a breach of trust. They deserve to feel safe voting. I hope they still get the chance to. I call on the Conservative Party of Canada to secure our democratic nomination process, protect our values, and stand up to corrupt campaigns that show disdain for both.
Let's see if there's anything else in here. Despite raising concerns to the Conservative Party nearly 2 weeks ago, despite submitting clear evidence, the corrupt process, potential zero communication. I think this is just, okay, we don't need to go through the oh, no, there is new information in there. There is clear evidence that another campaign in my nomination race had access to not just an official membership list, but updated versions of it before closing notice and before the candidate was greenlit. They didn't just have access to lists for members, but the start of the contest, but were being updated with new members' names and contacts information as other campaigns made sales. This is blatantly against the rules. Note, member data can only be pulled from Conservative Party's tightly controlled Constituent Information Management System, or CIMS. The morning after the membership sales deadline, a mass email was sent to update the version of the official membership list that no candidate was allowed to have yet. No one had been greenlit. The subject, important info, Sabrina. It was full of defamatory smear attacks and deliberate misinformation about me. There's a lot. When I first ran for the NDP here in my area, and it was a contested nomination, there was a lot that happened from the board to favor the other candidate and to push back against me. Like at least they didn't try to smear me. That's not quite the NDP style, but they did everything they could to favor the other candidate. It's a long story that I'm not going to be telling right now. Let's skip to this one. Multiple members told me they felt harassed by this unknown sender, didn't feel secure voting, and were concerned about both their data being compromised and the integrity of the election. I will post some of the notes we received in a separate thread. It was obvious why they might feel intimidated. An unknown entity had their confidential personal information and was attempting to aggressively influence their vote, which was supposed to be confidential. I'm not going to go over this whole thread because, as you can see, it's long. And I think a lot of it was in that little video that we just watched. But to me, as somebody who has been through the process, even with the NDP, I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised it would be a lot worse with the Conservatives. Just the way that members within the party decide who the candidate is going to be, without any regard for what the riding association, for what the voters of that area want. And that is why it's so hard to get real change in office, because it's not the people selecting the candidates. It's not the people being able to choose. And that's why we need to push back on these systems. Like, you can't just get involved in politics for an election and then brush your hands of it. And that's why elections are just harm reduction, vote for the least worst option. But the rest of the time, we have to be putting pressure on the parties to stop this sort of thing so that we can actually get candidates in that we want to vote for. Because right now it is vote for the least worst option. If you aren't happy with any of them, then you have to spend the rest of the time working to make sure you get a candidate into the get a candidate available that you want to vote for. It's on the people to do that because the parties will not.